platform now has three great looking bikes that are really easy to use, to ride, and just very simple and bare bones. The Meteor, the Classic, and this, the Hunter 350. A young and stylish looking bike that is looking to break new ground for the brand. Positioned as the best urban sub 400cc bike in Royal Enfield's lineup, it thrives in the urban jungle. It's easy to filter. I mean, really easy to filter. The engine is very usable and forgiving, and the clutch is also pretty easy to work. And talking about good vibrations, the thumper of a motor has a ton of character and a mini torque band that lets you cruise ever so smoothly. However, the side mirrors do vibrate a lot when you look at them. It's also very chill, even down to the suspension. Potholes in Philippine roads, not a problem. Doing slow speed stuff on concrete roads, please. The bike was made for it, and it looks really awesome. Now, when you get on the bike, it does feel like you're sitting in a baby Triumph Street Twin, or maybe you should call it a Street Single, not too sure. But it does have that kind of aesthetic when you sit on it. I mean, it's really, if you're, to the untrained eye, that's kind of what it looks like. Like when I see my reflection on the cars, I kind of think, okay, this could be a Triumph, this could be a Street Twin, but of course, it's not. Now, clearly, because of the type of bike it is, when you're high in the rev range, it does not want to be there, right? It's a bike that kind of just wants to be chill, and that's the kind of bike it is. It's not something that wants to go fast. It's not something that wants to go racing with other bikes out there. It's just basically, it's going to get you from point A to point B. A good-looking motorcycle, very simple and very basic, and that's where this bike thrives. It's a urban jungle machine, and it does that very well.
Since the beginning of time, at least that's what it feels like, Royal Enfield has mastered the art of building relatively budget-friendly bikes that are built very well, as they say, built like a gun. And the Hunter is no exception. Yes, it's the same platform, same engine as the Meteor 350, and that's what it feels like when you're riding it. However, when you are looking at the bike, it does feel a little bit younger. It looks like Royal Enfield is trying to find new fans or find new people that are, you know, a little bit younger, or at least young at heart, that prefer this look over the Meteor, which is a little bit more classic vibes. In fact, when I look at the bike, it kind of has the sense or feel or energy of the Ducati Scrambler, at least. And that's what the Ducati Scrambler is, right? It's supposed to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more lifestyle oriented, and that's kind of like the feel that I get from the Hunter 350. So in classic Royal Enfield vibes, it's, well, a pretty basic, fundamental, bare bones bike. And because it's still a classic, you get halogen lights all over the place, pretty much no technology, but you do get a USB port right here, which is a nice little touch to charge, of course, your gadgets, your phone, and whatever it is that you need to charge. It does lack the little navigation device that comes with a Meteor 350, which you could find right about here. And I have no problem with that. I think this is still actually a fairly good machine that I think is really excellent for beginner riders. If you're just starting out to ride, if you want to get used to bigger bikes instead of, you know, the normal scooters and get used to the clutch, this really might be one of the best machines to start out with. Now, the seat is quite nice and plush. Whether you're going to be the rider, the driver, or the pillion, it's actually pretty comfortable. Of course, you got the grab rails right here, the rear foot pegs for the back rider. I mean, it's pretty much what you expect from Royal Enfield. You know, I mean, it's quite nice. I mean, when you look at the bike, the silhouette of the bike, I love it. It's, you know, the styling of the bike is actually really more me compared to some of the other bikes out there. And what I love about Royal Enfield is that they're not trying to do anything that they're not known for, right? I mean, they've mastered this. And for what? Since the beginning of time, as I said, since what, 1903, they've just produced the same bikes over and over and over again, and it's worked for them. And I don't see a reason why they should change that. Now, what I do love about this bike is that it is a fantastic canvas or a great platform for customization. And actually, pretty much all Royal Enfields are like that because they are pretty simple that if you customize the bike, it doesn't, there's not too much changes that you have to do or alterations that you have to do. So I've actually seen online that this bike was customized to be a cafe racer, a brat style motorcycle, and then of course a scrambler as well. And all of them look absolutely fantastic. I want to point something out over here. If you can see this little dip right here on the frame, it's a little bit different from other bikes out there, especially the famous Continental and Interceptor 650 of Royal Enfield, the twins. Actually, my favorite engine that Royal Enfield ever created. Those have a flat line right here. This one dips a little bit. So when you customize the bike, it really does have that a little, it's a little bit different, right? It stands out. And it actually works really well if you're gonna make the bike look like a cafe racer in that sense because of that little dip right here. Now, one thing that I do wish that they did change are the rims. I think it would have looked much, much better if they had, of course, spoke wheels on this bike. They don't look bad, but I just think spoke wheels would have worked better with the Hunter 350. Now, when you look at the colorways that the Hunter 350 come in, they're kind of loud, right? They're kind of bright. They don't have the brown chrome type finishes like the classics do. These are what? You have the red, you have the blue, the white. Pretty much they pop. So that goes aligned with the target younger fan base that Royal Enfield is trying to capture with the Hunter 350. Now, one thing I do appreciate about Royal Enfield, at least sometimes, the bike comes with a center stand. I'm not gonna put it up right now. Obviously, when you put up the center stand, it becomes easier to, clean all the necessary parts of the bike that you need to clean, especially, of course, the chain. But it does add a little bit more weight to the bike. But you could tell already the, priority that Royal Enfield has. They don't try to make the bike as light as possible. It's really about just, necessary stuff. Like they don't try to skimp on stuff just to make it lighter for performance because they're not about performance, right? It's really more about a little bit more about a lifestyle piece than something that you can go racing around with. The seat height is 790 millimeters. I'm 5'6" with a 764 millimeter inseam. And as you can see, pretty much flat foot on the bike. Yep, that's why it is perfect for a beginner rider who's getting used to manual transmission motorcycles because this is confidence inspiring, right? Because if you can flat foot the bike for people, they feel like they're a little bit safer, that they won't drop it. But the truth is you really just need to get one foot on the ground. But this, perfect for beginners. So, I wouldn't call it a flaw in design, but something that you do have to watch out for. This right here would be the proper way that your right foot would be on the foot peg, right? You're not supposed to be riding like this with the foot on the brake. It should be somewhere around here. Now, my feet is size 9, and I'm already kind of hitting the exhaust right there. So if you imagine somebody who's got, size 14 shoes, that would be a little bit of an issue, right? So that's something that you should consider if you're buying the bike. If you're about 6 feet tall with size 12 shoes, I don't know if there's enough space there. But for somebody like me, 5'6", size 9, seems to be okay. Now, if you have a pillion, a back rider, and this foot peg is down, not too sure how that could, might be an issue. I don't want to play footsies with Earl. I really don't. Now, if you remember the Meteor and the Classic 350, the foot pegs are actually somewhere over here. You have a little bit of a more 90-degree angle on your legs. This one is a little bit more rear set, which I don't quite understand why. I guess they feel like it's a little bit more sporty, a little bit more urban, a little bit younger. So they made it a little bit aggressive in that sense, but I don't know, it seems a little bit cramped for me with the rear foot peg, the pipe. I would have preferred it right about here. I think this would have been the sweet spot. Now, the fuel tank capacity is 13 liters, which is pretty much, I guess, average for this type of motorcycle. And Team MotoDeal got an average of 24 kilometers per liter in its natural environment, which is the city and lots of traffic. Now, Royal Enfields are typically heavy motorcycles, and the Hunter 350 is no exception. 181 kilograms. That is close to the 790 Duke of KTM. 790, 350, about the same weight. The Royal Enfield Hunter 350 is powered by a 349cc single overhead cam air and oil-cooled engine with electronic fuel injection that punches out 20 horsepower at 6,100 RPM and pulls 27 Newton meters of torque as early as 4,000 RPM. It comes with a 5-speed manual transmission, which could explain why some of us were looking for a 6th gear while riding, and the 114 km/h top speed, allegedly. If that sounds familiar, that's because it's the same exact setup that we got with the Meteor 350 that we reviewed a while back. Stopping the bike is a single 300mm disc in the front that's clamped by a dual piston bi-brake caliper. The rear, meanwhile, is sliding bi-brake caliper mated to a 270mm disc. Both brakes are helped along by a dual-channel ABS unit. The bike sits on a wheelbase that is 1,370mm long, and the front has 41mm standard telescopic tubes, while the rear has twin-tube emulsion shock absorbers with 6-step adjustable preload. Front suspension travel comes in at 130mm, and rear suspension travel is at 102mm. Holding you on the road is a 110/70/17 front tire and a 140/70/17 rear. These tires wrap around a set of alloy wheels. Again, I think the spoke wheels would have been so much better in this motorcycle. Perhaps the most modern thing on this motorcycle, aside from the ABS or the fuel injection, is the dash, which comes with a speedometer, fuel meter, trip computer, and even a maintenance interval reminder function. Unlike the Meteor, however, the Hunter is more back to basics, and while the other 350s don't have a tachometer, the tripper gauge pod is a feature that we don't get here. So, with a price tag of 233,000 Philippine pesos, you have to ask yourself, is the styling of the bike, the character of the engine, and the low maintenance of Royal Enfield, is it worth it for young professionals and maybe even college students out there? Now, I don't know. I don't know if it really is, to be honest with you. But if you're a little bit older, a little bit, you have a little bit more disposable income and you want to get into the world of motorcycling, I think this is one of the best ways to do it. You get used to the, riding with a clutch, with a manual motorcycle, and I just think it's a nice city bike. So if you have 2 adventure bikes and you want something to get yourself around the city with, no issues, no problems, a smaller commuter motorcycle, this would be it. 2 adventure bikes. What moron would own 2 adventure bikes?
You!
You're right. So, I mean, for me, I think this would be a pretty good motorcycle to ride around the city with no issues. Yes, of course, the 400cc rule is going to be a little bit of a problem, but I have 2 bikes to get me on the expressway, which is fine. But to, day-to-day use, this is actually a pretty good deal. Now, for more information about this bike and other MCs out there, log on to www.motodeal.com.ph. This has been Jinno Rufino. Hope you guys enjoyed. Going to be on the ride.